Hey, Danny, Mike Trudell, NLA. I know we've traditionally had these start for you and just addressing what's been going on socially, what's been on your mind in terms of race inequality. Did you want to start there today?
Yeah, we always start there because that's what's most important. We address what's most important, and that's what's going on in the world outside of our bubble, and the people that still deserve their justice. Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, now Jacob Blake. Um, it's crazy that things are still going on. But there's been some great basketball going on and guys carrying and keeping their name alive. Jamal Murray, Donovan Mitchell, shout out to them. Um, dedicating their amazing performances toward the families, toward the lives, toward the people who deserve that attention.
Danny, if I could flip over to basketball for one to ask your a question about the history of you playing in the playoffs. As you go from round to round, you see is it an increase of intensity that's just a little bit from round one to round two? Is it a lot? Is it something that you personally find yourself taking your game to another level? How does that go for you from, say, round one to round two?
I think the intensity is, I would say increases, but I think it's the same. It's from the moment the playoffs start, guys are intense. Guys are fighting for the lot. Nobody wants to go home. So I think it just gets harder and harder each round. But each round, I think we start to build more rhythm. I try to build more rhythm for myself. And it's different from game to game, from team to team. Every matchup is different. Some teams you're going to play well against, some teams you won't. Some teams you'll have a good rhythm against, some teams, they might throw a little tool or wrench in your system and it might not work as smooth. But you got to figure out a way to get wins and find a way to get some things done.
Hey, Danny, it's Dave. Because we don't know what's going to happen tonight, can you give us a scouting report, a Cliff Notes version of trying to stop a team led by James Harden versus trying to stop a team led by Chris Paul?
They're both very tough, great players, Hall of Fame players. Obviously, Houston's a different dynamic where they push the pace, shoot a lot of threes, and play from the perimeter. OKC is a little more traditional, but they got those three guards that attack. Very good, very well. They have big inside, and they have Gallo on the outside. They have a lot of guys that can score in bunches and do some great things for them. They're both teams with a lot of weapons. So basically, we focus on ourselves. We got to continue to just get better and be our better self, and we feel that we're at our best. It doesn't matter who we match up with. We feel like we can come out on top, but we find out ways to limit their offenses and try to slow those teams down, depending on who wins tonight.
You guys can go ahead there.
Alrighty, Tanya?
You guys haven't gone through this, but last night the Nuggets and the Jazz were talking about how this was such a weird series because they're staying in the same place and they run into each other. And did you ever see any of those interactions where they're like in this super tense playoff series?
I did actually. I saw it last night. I see it all the time, obviously, but those two teams are not far from each other, and we're all not far from each other. But even after a game like last night, how intense and how emotionally draining it was, I was outside just, getting my little daily stroll on late night or whatever, messing with the cornhole. And Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell actually talking last night quite a bit. You see a lot of the Utah and Denver guys actually talking and chopping it up after a hard-fought series, which is something you don't really see or get a chance to do, or it happens often in the regular season. Most teams fly out or dip out. You don't get a chance. They see each other so much that they have no choice but to interact. I'm not saying that they don't want to interact, but we're all a fraternity, we're all a brotherhood, so we all know each other pretty well and show each other a lot of respect. And they're obviously friends, so they got a chance to actually chop it up, and it was an amazing series and something that's going to be remembered forever. So I think they kind of embraced that. We're talking about it, and I guess wishing each other luck in the future.
Brian? Mahoney?
Hey, Danny.
What's up, man?
Veteran experience is always looked at as just a positive thing, and I'm wondering if something like this might be the flip side this year, where for guys like you, guys like LeBron who've been part of a lot of playoff runs, I imagine maybe have more routines versus some young guys who know this is weird, but they don't really know any better because they haven't done what's right for years and years.
Yeah, I guess it could be looked at it that way. With the routine, and most guys, their first playoff run, what affects them the most is probably the background or the outside or the fan noise. They're not really getting that full experience, so it's probably easier for them to focus and not get distracted or let that sway their play. So you'll see a lot of young guys, I guess, even if you don't have that experience, they'll be able to play the way they normally play during a regular season and seem like they have that veteran, experience in terms of playing in this type of, or an atmosphere, in a playoff-like atmosphere, which is, this one is different than a normal one. So, yeah, I guess if you're looking at it that way, they may not be deterred or, lose any type of confidence or, feel, any type of, I guess, doubt in themselves when they're playing in this type of atmosphere, which most first-time experienced people in a playoff-like atmosphere will at some point or another feel like, oh, shit, this is the playoffs, and feel some type of, nerves or butterflies. You don't get that here.
All right, Mark Medina.
Hey, Danny, how do you weigh kind of the cost benefit of having days in between extra because of the shortened series versus losing whatever momentum?
It depends on your roster, and I think obviously we have an older crew, a veteran crew, and I think it only helps us. But at the same time, we want to keep rhythm and keep playing. I think most teams want to keep playing and stay in rhythm, but for older groups, I think it benefits them more than any to actually get some days of rest and be able to relax a little bit and take a break, especially in this type of circumstances where there isn't many escapes.
Kyle, did you? Okay. Will, you can take the last couple, please.
All right, thank you. Yeah, Danny, you've played playoff series against Harden in the past, Paul in the past. How important is defending without fouling when you face them? And then also, obviously that will be part of the scouting report. How hard is it in the game to actually defend without fouling?
It's very important. It's probably the most important thing when guarding those two guys. It's keeping them at the free throw line. You want to give them nothing easy, no easy points or getting rhythm. Also, you don't want to get your best defenders in foul trouble. And actually trying to do that is it's hard. They're very crafty, very good at what they do. Is the reason why they get to the free throw line as much as they do. All you can do is hope that they have an off night with shooting, and hopefully the refs will let you play a little bit physically because those guys are physical offensively, but they also know how to use their body and be crafty to draw fouls. So you just want to be able to hope that, the whistle is kind of on your side, whether you're able to, play a little bit more physical without getting some foul calls. But you just got to be smart about it. You can't have your hands in there. You can't have your hands in a cookie jar. They will, catch you. So you just got to be real smart, but try to be physical at the same time.
All right, Danny, last one from me, Alan Sliwa.
Hey, Danny, just under the circumstances, you were saying that the relationships between some of the players, because you guys are in the bubble, do you feel like the NBA is closer than they even were before? Are you having relationships with players from other teams that you didn't have prior because you're in the bubble?
For sure. You have no choice but to speak to everybody that you see in here. You obviously don't have to. It could be rude, but we see these guys all the time. And it is a brotherhood, but there's meetings and things that are taking place that has never happened before. There's never been a time where we had all these players and coaches in a room at one time. There's never been a time where we had all these teams in a resort at one time. So, and I said, it's just kind of, it forces you guys to interact, even though we all kind of know each other even before this, but to see each other every day and live in the same type of space, instead it forces all of us to be, even tighter fraternity. So, yeah, I guess I don't know if that answers your question or not, but yeah, I believe it makes us, a tighter bonded league.